I'm Simon Whale, and I'm very excited today. I am here at Moneypenny headquarters in Wrexham, famous for Deadpool amongst other things. But here today, I've got another superhero of outbound calls. Joel, how are you?
I'm well, Simon. How are
Good
you?
stuff, good stuff. Okay, well, look, we're going to talk to you about a service. I think everybody knows Moneypenny within the industry, don't they? You know, you've been the guys who have handled calls for so many of the top agents in the country. But this was a service, as I understand it, that was introduced during lockdown after not only listened to clients, but actually put into action what they were after. Do you want to just give us a context around what your job is?
Yeah, sure. So everybody knows Moneypenny for what we're famous for, the inbound overflow service, which has been going for many, many, many years with literally thousands of agents up and down the country using it. And outbound calling is something we were always asked to do for a long, long time, and we always held off. We sort
You
of,
did, you said, look,
yeah,
wait,
stuck
not
to
ready.
our guns, stuck to what we were the best at, but as a continuous dialogue with our clients, we always ask, what can we do more? And the outbound conversation come up and come up and come up. And eventually in 2020, when the world got turned upside down anyway, we finally sort of caved in and began offering that as a service. So it is the newest service that we offer, gathering huge amounts of traction, very, very popular amongst agents
I
for
can
a
imagine, yeah.
wide.
So doubling down on all the normal things, you know, the professionalism, I think people actually, not that they should know, because obviously it's so brilliantly white label, but actually people do get a clue when it's a money penny because it's so brilliantly done. You know, it's like I've heard people that say they wouldn't even let their own staff now near the phones because your teams just get it. And you guys can't see here today. We're sat here in head office, which is absolutely amazing. Hundreds of people bouncing around. There's a real vibe, and you've just got a great culture here, haven't you? Which must support everything you do as well in the outbound call side of things.
Absolutely, smiley, happy people is what we're all about. And the outbound team have been recruited from uh, the inbound calling team. So these guys are experienced in handling and making calls for specifically the property industry.
Smiley, happy people, not least because yours is the only business I know that has a pub in the building as well.
It always
Impressive.
helps.
It's good that.
That's why you're
but
here so often.
all right, yeah. Not too much. I believe it's only open on Fridays, just to be clear, yeah. So Joel, talk to us size and scale. What's the size of the team at the moment, the outbound team?
Outbound team's around 30 strong, but growing with demand for the service itself. That's growing and growing and growing.
Fantastic. And in terms of the actual really nailing down the kind of, outbound covers a lot of different things, doesn't it? What sort of calls are you making? I mean, are you making, I'm going straight for the most dollar productive. Are you making prospecting calls as well? What are those outbound services that you do?
We are indeed. So prospecting calls is probably the most common type of call that we're doing for estate agents, but anything under the spectrum of sales or customer service, we can handle that. So we could be following up on viewings. We could be doing anniversary calls, on and off market calls. The list goes on.
Basically, everything that an agent is doing in their, busy lives, you'll be able to take that out.
Absolutely, we can
Just talk to us about, so how would an agent's obviously keen to use this service, do they have like an onboarding discussion call with you to decide, which of those services they're going to take?
Yeah, of course, and it's a really, really important part of the setup. So how the setup process works is we assign one of the outbound agents to essentially head up the account, and it is this person who will be making the bulk of the calls personally, alongside some of the smaller team. And you'll have an in-depth call on Teams as part of that setup to really run through what is the data that you have, what we're going to be doing, what call types do you want us to make, and not a script, because we never work rigidly with scripts. There's nothing worse than picking up the phone.
I love that about you guys. That really helps that whole natural conversation, doesn't it?
Absolutely, we're all about the natural conversation, but we can work with the bones of a script as reference points. So we're capturing all of the information that you'd require on those calls.
Brilliant, and I assume that continues on an ongoing basis as well. You're forever tapping into them and talking to them about what's working, what can be improved on, what they want to change, and so that's just a continual conversation, is it?
Absolutely. Yep, you'll have regular catch-up calls with your assigned outbound agent. We can tinker and tailor how we're doing things and what calls we make pretty much instantly. You have access to your outbound person just like you would a staff member. You can speak to them whenever you want.
Brilliant, great. So you mentioned there at the beginning, obviously, Moneypenny got thousands of agents, across the country there. But in terms of in this particular area, as we said, it's been going relatively recently. Is it just is it a few dozen? How many have got on board?
There's hundreds of agents using the service already. As I said, even a more recent offering from Moneypenny, it has grown very, very quickly. So hundreds of property industry businesses, agents, as well as house builders.
So that's great, guys. So that you're not going to be a guinea pig. You've already got the Moneypenny service here. These guys have been doing it for years. That's really great to hear. I think in terms of talking about cost, of course, everybody needs to talk to your Moneypenny account manager, salesperson, to talk about obviously the deals there. All I would say is that we've got a special deal on the table for all RAN members. So if you are interested, drop us a line and we'll let you know on that basis. So Joel, what's the feedback from the agents themselves? You've obviously, it's difficult, isn't it? Their staff, many of their staff are meant to be doing these outbound calls anyway themselves, but for whatever reason, it doesn't happen, does it? Is the benefit, am I reading between the lines, that knowing that somebody like yourself specialise in it, that you can monitor, is the bit that the business owners love the service about?
Yeah, there's that. So outbound calling, it's part and parcel of an agent's job. Having the time to actually go ahead and do it is a completely different matter. Every agent is sitting on a huge amount of data in most cases. Having the time to actually go through it and call it is what proves difficult. We get agents coming to us who will assign a certain number of hours each week.
Yeah.
Where they're tasking their own agents to do the outbound calling, but the next thing is a viewing's come in or a val's come in.
Life comes up in the way.
Yeah, exactly. That's what happens.
So by getting you, they know they've got that set resource. It's going to happen, and essentially they can just sit back and relax. That most important job of all, the outbound calls, is going to happen.
Exactly.
Brilliant.
We're here. The outbound team is here to purely sit there and make calls. They're not going to be out on the road to go and do a viewing at 11 o'clock when they're meant to be outbound calling. They're specifically making calls for the industry.
So I'm going to trap you now, and it's a bit unfair of you because that was the Moneypenny promise. We answer calls. That's all we do. Clearly.
That's it. That's change. It's gone out the window.
Now, brilliantly, you phone, you make those calls, and that's all your department does, isn't it? And that's it. Did I just take it there that as well that you do have the ability then to tap into the agent's own data as well? Are you?
Absolutely. So subject to access, we can go ahead and access whatever CRM it may be. We integrate fully with things like Area. Some agents want to keep it really simple and just supply us with a rudimentary spreadsheet. That's absolutely fine. But
I think I know those ones.
there's some old school agents still out there. But yep, CRM access.
That's really important though, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I mean, you'll be aware there's loads of industry trainers out there. There's the international ones like Josh Fegan says, don't even go near, don't start spending all your money, much as I encourage it here at Kerfuffle, on all this other prop tech, if you haven't tapped into every bit of valuable data you've already got in your database. And he makes the point that he believes all the business needed for a really good year is locked away in there from your past clients.
Absolutely. Agents are sitting on data and there's golden nuggets inside it, certainly.
We spoke about obviously the massive benefits of obviously an agent being able to just rely on you guys making those calls. They know that those vital calls are going to be made. But there's another real benefit, isn't there, from an opportunity cost point of view, is those staff that now aren't, having to make those calls are freed up to do other things. Do the estate agency owners you work with give you feedback as to how beneficial that is?
Yeah, of course. Outbound calling, as you know, is a hugely time-consuming task. So allowing Moneypenny to go ahead and make those calls, firstly, make sure that those calls are actually getting done, but also frees up a huge amount of time for the agent to concentrate on other things.
So win-win.
Absolutely.
That's absolutely great. Well, look, I thank you so much for taking the time for me today. We're going to obviously catch up with you and some of the other team members. And just one last question. So this service just can fit in around all the other services you do at Moneypenny as well, am I right? So
Absolutely.
if they do have the call answering service, no problem at all. That just fits happily into the Moneypenny proposition.
Of course, yeah, Outbound's completely separate service to telephone answering and the live chat offering.
Joel, fantastic. Thank you very much. Cheers, mate.
Thank you very much, Simon.
Cheers.